Hey everybody, how's it going? Another one of the patriarchs, Zevulun. Zevulun. The copy of the copy of the words of Zevulun, which he commanded his sons, where he died in the 114th year of his life, 2 years after the death of Yosef. And he said to them, "Listen to me, you sons of Zevulun. Attend to the words of your father. I, Zevulun, was born a good gift to my parents. For when I was born, my father was increased very exceedingly, both in flocks and herds, when, with the streaked rods, he had his portion. I am not conscious that I have sinned all my days, except in thought, nor yet do I remember that I have done any wickedness, except the sin of ignorance, which I committed against Yosef. For I swore with my brothers not to tell my father what had been done. But I wept in secret many days on account of Yosef. For I feared my brothers, because they had agreed that if anyone should declare the secret, he should be slain. But when they intended to kill him, I begged them exceedingly with tears, not to be guilty of his sin. For Shimon and Gad came against Joseph to kill him, and he said to them with tears, "Show me favor, my brothers. Have compassion upon the affection of Yaakov, our father. Do not lay your hands upon me to shed innocent blood, for I have not sinned against you. And if indeed I have sinned, discipline me with punishment, my brothers, but do not lay your hand on me because of Yaakov, our father." And as he spoke these words, wailing as he did so, I wasn't able to bear his lamentations, and I began to weep. And my bile was poured out, and all the substance of my intestines was loosened. And I wept with Yosef, and my heart thumped, and the joints of my body trembled, and I was not able to stand. And when Yosef saw me weeping with him, and they coming against him to slay him, he fled behind me, pleading with them. And you have to know that he was only 17 years old when they were doing this. He was 17. But meanwhile, Reuben arose and said, "Come, my brothers, let us not slay him. Let us cast him into one of these dry pits, which our fathers dug and found no water." For because of this, Yahweh prevented water rising in them in order that Yosef would be preserved. And they did so until they sold him to the Ishmaelites. For in his price I had no share, my sons. But Shimon and Gad and 6 other of our brothers took the price of Yosef and bought sandals for themselves and their wives and their children, saying, "We do not eat of it, for it is the price of our brother's blood, but we shall surely tread it underfoot, because he said that he would be sovereign over us. And so let us see what becomes of his dreams." Therefore, it is written in the writing of the Torah of Moshe. I really hate it that they put it that way, because it's not the Torah of Moshe. It's the Torah of Yahweh that Moshe, his servant, gave. Okay. And that whoever does not raise up seed to his brother, his sandal should be removed, and they should spit in his face. And the brothers of Yosef intended that their brother should not live. And Yahweh removed from them the sandal which they wore against Yosef, their brother. For when they came into Mitzrayim, they were released by the servants of Yosef outside the gate, and so they made obeisance to Yosef after the manner of sovereign Pharaoh. And not only did they make obeisance to him, but they were spat upon also, falling down before him immediately. And so they were put to shame before the Mitzrites. For after this, the Mitzrites heard all the evils that they had done to Yosef. And after he was sold, my brothers sat down to eat and drink, but I, through compassion for Yosef, did not eat, but watched the pit. since Yehuda feared least Shimon, Dan, and Gad should rush off and slay him. But when they saw that I did not eat, they appointed me to watch him till he was sold to the Yishmaelites. And Reuben came and heard that he had been sold while he was away. He tore his garments, mourning, saying, "How shall I look on the face of my father Yaakov?" And he took the silver and ran after the merchants, but because he failed to find them, he returned grieving. But the merchants had left the wide road and marched through the cave lands by a shortcut. But Reuben was grieved and ate no food that day. Dan therefore came to him and said, "Do not weep, neither grieve, for we have found what we can say to our father Yaakov." Oh yeah, gotta tell a big lie. "Let us slay a kid from the goats and dip it in the coat and dip in it the coat of Yosef. Let us send it to Yaakov, saying, 'No, is this the coat of your son?' And they did so. For they stripped off his coat from Yosef when they were selling him, and put the garment of a slave on him. Now Shimon took the coat and would not give it up, for he intended to tear it with his sword, for he was angry that Yosef lived and that he had not slain him. Then we all rose up and said to him, 'If you do not give up the coat, we shall say to our father that you alone did this evil matter in Yisrael.' And so he gave it to them, and they did as Dan had said. And now, my sons, I say to you, guard the commands of Yahweh, and show favor to your neighbors, and have compassion towards all, not towards men only, but also toward beasts. For many of all this, Yahweh barak me. And when all my brothers were sick, I escaped without sickness, for Yahweh knows the purposes of each. Therefore have compassion in your hearts, my sons, because even as a man does to his neighbor, even so Yahweh shall do to him. For the sons of my brothers were sickly and were dying because of Yosef, for they did not show favor in their hearts. But my sons were preserved without sickness, as you know. And when I was in the land of Canaan, by the coast, the sea coast, I made a catch of fish for Yaakov my father, and when many were drowned in the sea, I continued unhurt. I was the first to make a boat to sail upon the sea, for Yahweh gave me understanding and wisdom in this. And I let down a rudder behind it, and I stretched a sail upon another upright piece of wood in the midst. And I sailed in it along the shores, catching fish for the house of my father, until we came to Mitzrayim. And through compassion, I shared my catch with every stranger. And if a man was a stranger or sick or aged, I boiled the fish and dressed them well, and offered them to all the men as every man had need, grieving with and having compassion upon them. Therefore Yahweh also satisfied with abundance of fish when catching fish, for he that shares with his neighbor receives abundantly more from Yahweh. For 5 years I caught fish and gave of them to every man whom I saw, and I had enough for all the house of my father. And in the summertime I caught fish, and in the winter I kept sheep with my brothers. Now I shall declare to you what I did. I saw a man in distress through nakedness in winter time, and had compassion upon him, and removed a garment secretly from my father's house, and gave it to he who was in distress. Therefore, my sons, do that from what Yahweh places upon you. Show compassion and favor without hesitation to all men, and give to every man with a good heart. And if you do not have the means to give to he that is in need, show affection for him and compassion of favor. I know that I did not find in my hand the means to give to he that needed. And I walked with him weeping for 7 stadia, and my affections yearned toward him in compassion. Therefore, my sons, also have compassion towards every man with favor, that Yahweh may also have compassion and favor upon you. Because also in the last days He shall send his compassion on the earth, and wherever he finds compassion of favor, he dwells in him. For in the degree of which a man has compassion upon his neighbors, in the same degree Yahweh also has upon him. And when we went down into Mitzrayim, Yosef bore no evil against us, to whom taking heed do also my sons. Prove yourselves without evil, and love one another, and each one of you do not reckon evil against his brother, for this breaks unity and divides all relations, and troubles the being, and ages the face. Therefore, observe the waters, and know when they flow together, they sweep along stones, trees, earth, and other matter. But if they are divided into many streams, the earth swallows them up, and they vanish away. So you also shall be if you are divided. You therefore do not be divided into two heads, for all which Yahweh made has but one head, and two shoulders, 2 hands, 2 feet, and all the remaining members. For I have learned in the writing of my fathers that you shall be divided in Israel, and you shall follow 2 sovereigns, and shall work every abomination, and your enemies shall lead you captive, and you shall be treated evilly among the Gentiles with manner sicknesses, with many sicknesses and afflictions. And after these events you shall remember Yahweh and repent, and he shall cause you to return, for he is full of favor and compassionate, and he does not reckon evil to the sons of men, because they are flesh, and the spirits of deceit deceive them in all their deeds. And after these matters, Yahweh himself shall raise to you the light of righteousness, and healing and compassion shall be in his wings. He shall redeem all the captivity of the sons of men from Belial, and every spirit of deceit shall be trodden down, and he shall bring back all the Gentiles in ardor for him. And you shall return to your land, and you shall see him in Yerushalayim for his name's sake. And again, through the wickedness of your works shall you provoke him to anger, and you shall be cast away by him till the time of complete end. That's also proof that all of the people have not been gathered together yet. And now, my sons, do not grieve that I am dying, nor be downcast in that I am coming to my end. For I shall rise again in the midst of you, as a ruler in the midst of his sons, and I shall rejoice in the midst of my tribe, as many that guard the Torah of Yahweh, and the commands of Zevulun, their father. But Yahweh shall bring eternal fire upon the unrighteous, and destroy them throughout all generations. But I am now hastening away to my rest, as my fathers also did. But you revere Yahweh with all your strength, all the days of your life. And when he has said these words, he fell asleep at a good old age, and his sons laid him in a wooden coffin, and afterwards they carried him up and buried him in Hebron with his fathers. Oh, well, there was lots of nuggets in that one, wasn't there? Well, you guys take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.